The Puker. Since Carl's dad had learned to fly at an early age, like his dad before him, it was only natural that Carl would follow in their footsteps. Carl flew his first solo at 14 in the 140 and got his pilot's license in the 182 on his 16th birthday. He had already accumulated hundreds of hours in the Puker and the 182. I wish I could say I loved to fly with Carl, but his crop duster flying style was not what I was cut out for. His father grounded him from the planes on a weekly basis for finding tree branches stuck in the landing gear cowlings or the odor of vomit in the plane. His father knew he was flying like a madman, purposefully trying to make me sick. My vomit must have smelled like ambrosia to that guy. No matter how much I bitched and moaned, he would just smile, stall the plane, and then put us in a steep diving recovery. If that didn't get the desired results, he would quickly follow up with a negative G pushover. These maneuvers quickly stifled my bitching and usually liberated even the smallest amount of food I had in my stomach. If the Puker went down, we wouldn't be hard to find. The authorities could just follow the trail of Walt's market bags that littered the countryside along our last known course. However, it was not all bad. From this experience, Carl taught me to take off, fly, navigate, and land without endangering anyone. He taught me to reasonably read the upcoming weather by looking at the cloud formations and noting the temperature changes. Did he instill enough of the right stuff to make me a daredevil like him? No. But I could safely get the 140 to point A from point B and back again in VFR conditions. During summer break from high school, I would spend several hours a week being Carl's designated lookout. I was the nervous fool making sure we weren't on a collision course with one of the numerous communication towers dotting the surrounding hills. Carl's contribution to this ritual entailed him donning a ridiculous-looking hood over his head to purposefully obstruct his view of the outside world. Although he assured me this procedure was necessary for him to qualify for his instrument flight rating, we got into some heated discussions. Flying high enough to make it a reasonably safe practice also increased the danger of encountering other aircraft. If Carl's dad ever became privy to our activities while flying, Carl's future would be driving a shuttle bus for the nearest old folks' home. His parents were adamant he would go to college upon finishing high school. They wanted him to become something greater than a stunt pilot or chemical-soaked crop duster. But Carl had other ideas. Little did I know his plans for the future would eventually involve me. My grandparents always told me I had a bright future ahead of me, but I don't recall them saying anything about a future full of grim realities that would make me doubt my sanity. Carl's uncle owned and operated Larson's Bush Service in Saratoga, Alaska. I still chuckle at the implications a person could conjure up about that small play on words. The Bush Service was a prospering charter cargo operation in the remote Alaskan wilderness. They hauled just about anything you could shove into a bush plane. His uncle and the pilots working for him flew to all points within several hundred miles of his airstrip. Most of the destinations were so isolated you couldn't get a land vehicle to the location without extreme difficulty. In the winter, the majority of locations were only accessible by a bush plane with skis. Carl always spoke of his Uncle Bill like he was the god of all bush pilots. It was not uncommon for Carl to email him every evening before going to bed, only to read his response in the morning. Carl loved hearing about his uncle's adventures and what aircraft he had flown. His uncle had a Super Cub, 2 Cessna 206s, and a Helio Super Courier that could land on water or snow. He had recently purchased a Cessna 208 Caravan at a bank auction and was spending a fortune updating it. Carl said his uncle always signed off all his emails with an invitation to come to Alaska. I believe some of my flights with Carl involving more than one Walt's market bag were influenced by his uncle's emails. Bill was a gifted pilot who flew in the military. Upon completion of his tour of duty, he moved on to other aviation opportunities. Bill got together with his brother Roger and started Larson's Ag Air Services. It grew into a successful business that allowed the brothers to buy large tracts of farm ground. When Bill finally got his fill of dirt and chemicals, he sold his interest to Roger and moved to the far north. I knew Bill, and the excitement of new flying challenges would